And during the speech earlier, in the speech, the government has mobilized all forces to ensure people's safety and rescue community affected by the disaster. Relief supply have been delivered to all areas in need, and a primary priority is to search and rescue people trapped under the ruins. On the same day, Colombian government declared a state of national disaster, and the third largest city was severely affected. At least dozens of buildings collapsed there, and some people were trapped in the rubbles. And the local rescue workers have started rescue operation. The mayor said they have requested assistance from the capital and the second largest city for rescue to support emergency response effects. And so the lady said that they heard that really the big sound, and the people went downstairs, and she lied on the wall, and a lady fall onto me and injured my thumb. And also the gentleman saying that actually they feel very strong and the shocks, and they wonder what could be happen next. And we look at the earthquake damaged the international airport, the capital of the Rustal province, with some sailings collapsed. And the Civil Aviation Authority of Colombia said on social media on 10th, the airports also have been suspended, and they will decision on whether to resume operation will be made after safety assessment. And Colombia yearly records thousands of small earthquakes every month, according to the foreign media citing the earthquake experts. The earthquake in Colombia, despite its great depths, has a high magnitude, is located inland, and is close to a soft river valley coupled with a plate movement. And the correspondent also right now at the Abelardo International Airport in Bogota, the capital of Colombia, is so about noon local time. As you can see from the flight information display screen, several flights to western cities has been cancelled or delayed. So that the gentleman here also know that his flights cancelled and need to reschedule their trips. And also, they also need to divide. And the lady actually from Madrid, and also they actually had a plan to go to the Espriella tomorrow, but right now they have to reschedule their trip. And they actually normally to stay in Colombia for around 2 weeks, but right now the earthquake actually really disrupted their plan. According to the local authorities and also according to official determination of China Earthquake Network Center, at 7:34 a.m. local time on August 10th, a 7.5 magnitude earthquake occurred in Colombia with a focal depth of 80 kilometers. And Colombian government announced on the same day it would enter a state of national disaster to deal with the disaster. On August 10th local time, our reporter learned that the 7.5 magnitude earthquake has killed 132 people and injured 570 people. And also, according to Colombian president, and the earthquake has damaged 1,612 houses to various degrees. 61 buildings collapsed completely. 18 the health institutions, 52 the educational institutions, and roads were damaged. And the third, the largest city in Colombia, Cali, were hit hard. A dozen of buildings collapsed there, and the people were trapped in the rubble. And the local authorities also have started rescue work, searching for survivors in the collapsed buildings, and also ask assistance from the other cities to help for the rescue emergency work, and call on local residents to evacuate buildings with structural damage. It's reported that Colombia yearly records thousands of small earthquakes every month. Earthquake experts believe that earthquake in Colombia has a high magnitude. The epicenter is located inland. It's near a soft valley, combined with multiple factors such as plate movement, magnifying the damage of the disaster. According to local time, on August 10th, a 7.5 magnitude earthquake struck Colombia. The epicenter was in the northwestern department of Chocó, the town of San Jose del Palma. The capital, Bogotá, is about 240 kilometers to the west, and the director of Colombia's geological survey said that is the strongest earthquake in the country in the past decade. Colombia has now entered a state of national disaster. According to the latest casualty figures, according to the data released by the Colombia Capital City Association, at least 132 people have died and 570 people have been injured. From the footage, the earthquake was extremely strong, with many buildings collapsing during the tremors, and the power lines were swaying violently. Currently, 5 cities in Colombia has entered a red alert state, with at least 85 buildings collapsed, and 7 airports have suspended operations. The rescue work is also still ongoing. Some of the affected areas in the west are mountainous region. Roads and communication have been impacted, and the specific situation in some remote areas have not fully learned yet. Additionally, after the main quake, multiple aftershocks have occurred one after another, and the risk of buildings collapsing again and landslides still exist. Therefore, what needs the most attention now is, on the one hand, the progress of the search and rescue of the trapped people under the ruin, on the other hand, with some remote areas reporting the disaster situation one after another, whether the number of casualties will further rise. Please stay tuned. So let me explain a little bit about the basic knowledge of an earthquake. So first of all, we know the cause of earthquake. So earthquakes are formed under high stress when the brittle crust ruptures, the fault slips, and a sudden movement occurs, causing the earthquake. So the earthquake can actually be divided into 3 types. One type is a normal fault earthquake in the Earth's crust growth environment, and the second type is the shear strike slip earthquake, whose dislocation moves horizontally and cause a strike slip earthquake. We talk about the large earthquake occur mainly in the large 3 seismic belts. So one belt is from the Himalaya Mediterranean seismic belt passing through China, and where the Indian plate and Eurasian plate collide. And another one is the Circum-Pacific seismic belt, which is closely related to the occurrence of this Colombian earthquake. And another one is the mid-ocean ridge seismic belt. So what are the disasters of a main earthquake formed? So disaster of a major earthquake are caused by the sudden release of energy during the earthquake. So the dislocation and vibration of faults and the seismic waves generated during the dislocation process, resulting in a vibration effect, so that it can directly act on the entire fault zone, causing a direct tearing effect on buildings, resulting in damage. So many major earthquakes have their epicenters mainly along active faults, resulting in the most severe disasters. And also we talk about the destruction caused by ground shaking. Earthquake waves can lead to severe damage to houses and buildings, which are the 2 factors that cause earthquake disasters. For this earthquake in Colombia, it occurred in the Circum-Pacific seismic belt. So that's a subduction zone between the East Pacific and the South American plate. This earthquake is an earthquake on an overthrust tap of a subduction zone, an overstressed earthquake. So that's reverse fault earthquake. So earthquake have several characteristics. One is that it is a reverse fault earthquake on the subduction zone of the plate boundary zone. And the second one is the depth of the epicenter is relatively deep. As we know, that many earthquakes that cause severe damage generally are shallow focus earthquake. And the shaking of a shallow focus earthquakes does not directly damage to the buildings. And this earthquake is a medium to deep focus earthquake with a depth of more than 70 kilometers. So then earthquake with a depth of more than 70 kilometers. For this one, we talk about that the depth is probably greater than 100 kilometers, making it a typical medium to deep focus earthquake. Therefore, the location of the earthquake cannot be on the continent, resulting in surface rupture. The fault dislocation does not generate any stress effects. Therefore, the damage caused by this earthquake is mainly due to ground shaking. The earthquake has a deep focus with the high frequency components, and more importantly, the focus is deep, so the duration is long, so which means it has a longer time of shaking. So that long duration of shaking is the main reason to cause structural damage. If we look at the highest intensity in the epicenter, so that is recorded by instruments, So one seismic station recorded a peak acceleration of 0.5 G, which is equivalent to 10 degrees. So a damage of 9 to 10 degrees. That is, you could see that many houses, buildings damaged and collapsed, especially some low houses damaged. It may be related to the high frequency components of the medium-sized seismic cells, which are more and last longer. So that's probably the basic information about this earthquake.
Is that they were with their relatives.
We are there trying to get out 4 people who are still buried there. There is a little dog, and just now it was scratching, but at this moment it can no longer be heard. Nothing can be heard anymore. We have faith that the dog is still alive and that we can still get the people out safely.
Well, at some point it could be a relative of someone who is in there. So one cannot be indifferent when there is a situation like this.
Colombia's Civil Aviation Authority has suspended operations at several airports. In the capital, Bogota, many visitors are rushing to reschedule their travel plans.
We were supposed to travel to Pereira, but that flight has been canceled. We're trying to book an alternative flight to Medellin, yet nothing is certain for now. We simply don't know what the current situation is in Armenia and Pereira.
We have just arrived here from Madrid when we got news of the earthquake. We were supposed to travel to Pereira tomorrow, but now we have to adjust our plans at short notice. We originally planned to stay in Colombia for 15 days, yet this earthquake has thrown our whole itinerary into disarray.
U.S. President Donald Trump has demanded Iran pay compensation for the people he says it has killed in attacks and protests.
Low-keying it with that, so you're semi-negotiating.
And the 7.5 magnitude earthquake recorded with a strong tremor felt in the capital, Bogota. The quake lasted for a relevantly long time. According to reporters' on-site observation, the shaking lasted for at least 30 seconds. And about 5 hours after the quake, Colombian government declared state of national disaster. And right now, a quake has caused several airports in central and western Colombia to temporarily suspend operations, and multiple roads have been interrupted due to the landslide and the falling rocks. I had originally booked a flight from Bogota to Cali for this noon due to the airport closure. The flight has been rescheduled to take off at 5 p.m. However, on the way to Cali, the crew informed us due to a technical malfunction at the Cali airport, we couldn't land there for the time being. Our flight had to return to the capital, and currently the airline has rescheduled me to a flight to Cali tomorrow morning. And dozens of people have died and hundreds have been injured, according to latest data released by Colombia president. And around 35 people died in Cali and 700 injured. About 5,000 houses were affected to various degrees. 3 hospitals have been unable to function properly, and 18 others were impacted due to the immense pressure on the healthcare system. The Cali government has declared a red alert for the local hospital system. Following the earthquake, some areas in Cali experienced public security incidents, and also that the local government announced that a curfew from 8 p.m. on the 10th to 6 a.m. on the 11th local time. According to latest information I have, the earthquake has so far cleared the lives of 132 people, injured over 500 people, and put 5 provincial capitals on red alert. And the casualty figures are still being updated. According to notice released by the Chinese embassy in Colombia, no casualty of Chinese citizens have been reported yet. So for myself, I live in a small city nearby Cali called Palmyra. At 7:30 this morning or so, my phone received an earthquake alarm. I didn't take it seriously and continued to lie in bed. Suddenly, I felt the roof and the ground began to shake. So I immediately ran under the table to hide. And the shaking, we talk about the roof and the ground shook for about 30 seconds. After the shaking passed, I ran outside, fearing that there would be a larger aftershock, but there was none. There were no collapsed buildings near where I lived, and no major casualties. And I can tell everyone was a bit panicked. About after 10 or 20 minutes, when everyone felt there would be no aftershock, so they went back to their residence. And this is the situation where I'm living, but I heard that Pamela is that one of the roof of the central church collapsed, and the roof and the tower collapsed. Several people were killed by the collapsed buildings, and some were injured. Measurement of a China Earthquake Network Center at 7:35 a.m. local time, August 10th, 7.5 magnitude earthquake occurred in Colombia with a focal depth of 80 kilometers. The epicenter was located in the department or in the city of Chaco, northwest Colombia, near the city of San Jose del Palma. Bogota felt the quake strongly. The Colombia government announced on the same day that the country was entering a state of national disaster to deal with disaster. And according to official numbers, the earthquake has killed 132 people, injured more than 570 people, collapsed 86 buildings, and temporarily suspended operation of 7 airports. The third largest city in Colombia, Cali, was seriously affected. At least dozens of buildings collapsed there, and some people were trapped in the rubble. Local rescue workers have started rescue work. They are searching for survivors in the collapsed buildings. And also the mayor of Cali said they have requested rescue teams from the capital. It reported that thousands of small earthquakes are yearly recorded in Colombia every month. The earthquake experts have determined that this earthquake in Colombia has a high magnitude and its epicenter located inland, as well as being close to a soft valley, coupled with the movement of the plates. The combined impact of these factors has accelerated the damage caused by the disaster. seismic authorities, and the 10th and an earthquake occurred in Colombia, and the epicenter was located in northwest of Colombia near the city of San Jose del Palma in the Choco department, and then causing hundreds of the casualties and significant property damage. The city of Cali and other cities were also the hardest hit. The Chinese embassy in Colombia is closely monitoring the safety of Chinese nationals. So far, there's no casualties and among Chinese citizens have been reported yet. The embassy reminds everyone to stay vigilant and beware of secondary earthquake-related hazards. Firstly, be cautious of aftershocks. Strong earthquakes and aftershocks may cause several damage to the main structure of existing buildings. Please inform stay in the careful the situation that in fact that the cracks of buildings. And if X-shaped or U-shaped cross-shaped crackers are found, immediately evacuate is required. Stay updated on local earthquake early warning system and disaster prevention alerts and follow instructions. Stay calm, prepared for emergency cases. Second, prevent health and other safety risks in severely affected area with casualties. Environmental pollution and public health events like disaster outbreaks may occur. It's recommended that the Chinese compatriots, in addition to participating in disaster relief efforts, do not go to the affected area if not necessary. If you do have to go, please wear masks, gloves, and other protective gear and clean and care for pay attention to your self-safety. And also, meanwhile, pay attention to the local security situation and prevent all kinds of losses. Earthquakes, disaster may impact road traffic. If it's necessary to drive, please pay attention to traffic safety. In case of emergency, please call the police and contact the Chinese embassy in Colombia for assistance in a timely manner. The 10th local time, the Colombia Geological Survey said the strong earthquake that occurred in the country's the Choco province on the same day, and activity of the volcano, Placer volcano, several days ago, and the Los Cano volcanic chain are not related. It's reported that on the morning of the 10th, Placer volcano emitted volcanic ash and gas, and nearby airport suspended operation. And volcano is located in the Cauca province in western Colombia, with an altitude of about 4,750 meters, and one of the most active volcanoes in Colombia. On August 1st, the Colombian Geological Survey raised the alert level of volcano and from yellow to orange. It's due to the intensified shallow volcanic earthquake activity.
发生在哥伦比亚的7.5级地震，已经造成了100多人的死亡，很多人受伤，是一次这个比较严重的灾害性的事件。哥伦比亚所处的地区，位于这个南美的这个北部，这个安第斯山脉的这个西侧，这个地方呢是典型的板块俯冲带。那么它的西侧呢是这个从这个太平洋大板块向东挤压，这个然后呢有一系列的小板块，那么俯冲到南美的板块下边，使得这一地方的这个构造活动和应力积累这个非常的这个强烈。这个地方呢也是这个地震活动非常活跃的区域。仅仅在哥伦比亚，在过去的30年里，就发生了14次6级以上的地震，其中3次震级达到了这个7级以上。那么这次发生的7.5级呢，是这个震级最大的一次这个地震事件。强烈的地震活动呢，这个往往在这个地区造成灾害。实际上，在1999年发生在这个地震东侧的一个这个俯冲带上部浅层的这种地震断层的活动发生的6.1级地震，造成了非常大的人员伤亡。那么人员的伤亡呢，达到这个1000多人，那么有很多人受伤，数十万人这个无家可归。那么一个这个6级左右的地震，因为它的震源比较浅，就在城市的下方，所以造成了很大的这种破坏。那么这次7.5级地震发生之后呢，那么人们也非常的担心。但是呢，这次地震呢，实际上它是一个发生在俯冲面上的地震。那么俯冲面这个断层的错动面呢，这个距离这些城镇的距离都有100多公里。实际上，这次地震在地表所产生的震动，并不是十分的剧烈，相当于一个地震烈度7度左右的震动。但是呢，由于是一个7.5级的地震，它的错动面的长度可能达到100公里以上，所以它震动的时间比较长。长时间的震动呢，使得房屋建筑产生了这种累积的破坏，所以也造成了一定的这个人员伤亡和这个房屋建筑的倒塌。这次地震是一个俯冲带上边这个俯冲面上的这个比较强烈的地震，那么和这个在近地表发生的浅源的这个断裂带上边，浅层的断层上边发生的地震呢，是有这个一些的区别。它的重要的区别呢，就是它这个虽然这个震中附近区域的震动属于中等强度的震动，但是呢，它的震动的时间呢，这个非常长。
First of all, the headlines.
More than 130 people killed by a magnitude 7.5 earthquake in western Colombia.
Iran's supreme leader makes 6 new military appointments as Tehran seeks to consolidate command structures.
Is very obvious, and the public has also developed a certain sense of panic. These are all so-called intermediate and deep focus earthquake, which is one of the characteristics of the earthquake. In the past 30 years, Colombia has almost had a major earthquake with a magnitude of 7 every 10 years, and almost every 2 years there is a magnitude 6 earthquake or above. And the people in this area are quite shocked, which is worth our attention. But from the situation of the quake-stricken area, I've also checked some information. The buildings in this area, especially the residential buildings, are not very ideal in terms of earthquake resistance. When encountering a slightly stronger earthquake, it may cause more serious damage. In fact, it can be described by a very simple metaphor. These houses are relatively fragile. So when encountering a strong shallow source or shallow focus earthquake of magnitude 6, it will shake violently because it is relatively fragile. It will collapse quickly. When encountering earthquake on the fault plane of the subduction zone under long-term vibration, these fragile buildings will gradually crack and then break through, leading to collapse. So in short, buildings are brittle and not earthquake resistant, which is a very important reason for this disaster. We hope that Colombia and our compatriots working in South America should pay attention to the quality of housing construction in these areas and seismic activity to ensure our safety. According to the official determination of the China, the Earthquake Networks Center at 7:35 a.m. local time, August 10th, a 7.5 magnitude earthquake occurred in Colombia, and also the capital felt the shocks, obviously, and the Colombia government announced on the same day that the country was entering a state of national disaster. According to Association of Colombia Capital Cities, on the 10th, the earthquake has killed 132 people, injured more than 570 people, and collapsed 86 buildings, and 7 airports have suspended operation. Third largest city in Colombia, Cali was hit hard. At least dozens of buildings collapsed there, and people trapped in the ruins. The local rescue operations are still undergoing. They are searching for survivors in the collapsed buildings, and the mayor of Cali said he had requested a rescue team from the capital and also called on the local residents to evacuate buildings with damaged structures. It reported the Colombia yearly records thousands of small earthquakes every month, and earthquake experts have determined that the earthquake in Colombia this time has a high magnitude, is located inland close to a soft river valley, and superposition of multiple factors such as plate movement has magnified the damage of the disaster. So the incident took place in the town of Chaco and had not related to the volcano chain activities. It reported that on the morning of the 10th that the volcano actually emitted ash and gas, and the nearby airport temporarily suspended. And the volcano is located in the southwest of Colombia, and with an altitude of about 4,750 meters, is one of the most active volcanoes in Colombia. And on August 1st, Colombia Geological Survey raised the alert level of these two volcanoes due to the increased shallow volcanic earthquake activity and abnormal changes such as increase in the height of ash and gas emission. According to the official determination of the China Earthquake Network Center, on 7:35 a.m. local time, August 10th, 7.5 magnitude earthquake occurred in Colombia with a focal depth of 80 kilometers. The epicenter was located near the city of San Jose del Palma in the northwestern department of Chaco, and the capital city felt the quake strongly. And the Chinese embassy in Colombia is closely monitoring the situation. Regarding the safety of Chinese compatriots in Colombia, the embassy has activated its emergency response mechanism immediately. So far, there's no Chinese citizens. The casualty has been reported, and embassy remind everyone to remain high vigilant and be aware of risk of secondary disaster caused by the earthquake. Firstly, be aware of the risk of aftershocks. Please pay attention to the cracks in the nearby buildings. If X-shape or U-shape cross cracks are found, immediately evacuation is required. Please pay close attention to local earthquake early warning information and disaster prevention alerts. Act according to the local guidance. Stay calm and prepare the portable emergency kit. Second, to be aware of health and other safety risks in severe affected area with casualties. Post-disaster public health incidents such as environmental pollution, the disease outbreaks may occur. If it is recommended that the Chinese compatriots, in addition to participating in disaster relief efforts, do not go to relevant area if not necessary. If you do need to go, please make sure to wear the protective gear. And meanwhile, if overseas Chinese merchants in relevant areas, stay vigilant and pay attention to road traffic, and please drive safely. In case of emergency, please call the local police or contact the Chinese embassy in Colombia for help in time. The relevant contact information is as follows: Colombia's emergency number 123 and a 24/7 hotline of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for consular protection and services 86 110 656 12308. For the earthquake this time, I would like to introduce basic knowledge of earthquake. First, we need to know that the cause of earthquakes, in fact, earthquakes actually happened with fragile crust ruptures and fault slips causing sudden movements resulting in the earthquake. And the earthquake can also be divided into 3 types. And the one type is the tremor type earthquake under the condition of the crustal extension, and the second type, that's the horizontal movement. That's a kind of a shear struck slip earthquake causing this location. And the third type is in the condition of a compression environment, a thrust fault earthquake. So the occurrence of the major earthquake actually mainly occur in 3 large earthquake zones around the world. That's the earthquake belt. One is the Himalayan Mediterranean seismic zone passing through China, as well as the collision between the Indian plate and the Eurasian plate. Another is the circum-Pacific seismic zone. So that's closely related to the occurrence of the earthquake this time in Colombia. Another one, that's the mid-ocean ridge. So how is the disaster of a major earthquake formed? So disaster of a major earthquake is caused by a dislocation and vibration of fault and the seismic waves generated during the dislocation process that cause the vibration effect. The fault disclosure can directly span the fault zone, causing a direct tearing effect on the buildings across the fault zone, resulting in damage, even severe damage. So many major earthquakes in their epicenters mainly occur along active faults. Disasters are most severe. Another aspect is ground shaking. Ground shaking is caused by seismic waves, which can lead to severe damage to houses and the buildings. So these are 2 main factors contributing to earthquake disasters. Regarding the earthquake this time, it occurred in the circum-Pacific seismic belt, specifically on the subduction zone between the Eastern Pacific and the South American plate. So therefore, this earthquake was an intraplate earthquake that occurred on the thrust fault of a subduction zone. In other words, it's a thrust fault earthquake. So the earthquake has several characteristics. Firstly, it was a thrust fault earthquake located on a plate boundary and a subduction zone. Second, it had a relatively deep focus. We know that many major earthquakes that cause severe damage are usually shallow focus earthquake. And shallow focus earthquake may cause more direct damage to houses and buildings, while this earthquake was of medium to deep focus, with a focus depth of over 70 kilometers. According to USGS and the local seismic station statistics, we can see that the focus depth is probably over 100 kilometers, making it a typical medium focus earthquake. The epicenter is unlikely to have generated a surface rupture on the continent. Therefore, the fault movement did not result in any tearing effect during the earthquake. So the damage caused by this earthquake was mainly due to ground shaking. Because the earthquake had a deep focus with rich high-frequency components. More importantly, the focus of this earthquake was relatively deep, so duration was relatively long in terms of shaking. So that long duration caused structural damage. So it caused like structural damage to houses and the building, which may be the main cause this time. So the estimated intensity of the earthquake in the earthquake zone, based on the instruments records by a seismic station, the peak acceleration is about 0.5 G, which is equivalent to 10 degrees or 9 to 10 degrees in terms of damage. So that is why we see a lot of damaged houses, collapsed ones, especially some low houses. That's because that's a high frequency components of the medium to deep focus earthquake, and it's a long duration of shaking. local time, 7:30, a magnitude 7.5 earthquake struck Colombia. Besides causing casualties and also property losses in many places across the country, the countries nearby also have various tremors. The epicenter of the quake in cities of the Andes mountain range, including Cali, Permia, Angeles. These areas are actually located either in the valleys and basins in the steep mountainous area or on alpine terrains. So after the earthquake, it not only caused severe damage to the city's infrastructure and residential area, but also easily destroyed the main traffic routes in and out of these cities. Landslides and debris flows are very likely to happen. And this is also, we talk about the city of Peria. It's a typical city on the Andean antiplano, is so-called the El Plano is located in relevantly high altitude area with relevantly slab top and steep cliffs around. And we talk about it's very famous for its landslide, pictures Coffee County, but when it faces this kind of earthquake, it also actually could cause the fatigue, the logistics and transportation bottleneck. And according to the local media, more than 60 buildings in the city collapsed in the earthquake, and currently rescuers are searching under the rubble of probably 15 buildings for trapped people. However, the search and rescue work at the scene is facing extremely harsh physical limits. Firstly, the strong earthquake severely shook the steep mountain at the edge of the land, and directly triggering secondary mudslides and landslides in the eastern district of the neighborhood, with rocks and debris pouring down and instantly hitting a large number of houses. At the same time, the narrow mountain road leading in and out of the highland encountered landslides in severe sections, blocking multiple roads, which means heavy machinery such as excavators and cranes, due to their lengths and poor road conditions, found it difficult to pass through these damaged sections entered the core affected area. And the mayor of the city has announced that the local area has entered a state of emergency and implemented a citywide curfew from 6 p.m. to 5 a.m. the next day. And that, in addition to strict preventing routing after the earthquake, the purpose of the curfew is to clean and clear the roads and leave these precious roads, the spaces unimpeded for search and rescue work. And also we talk about right now is in the night, and also the temperature between day and night are quite big. The people right now actually is homeless. The homeless victims have to spend their night in the open area stadium. So it's also a quite severe test for them.